A worthless Omega touches a cursed king, and the impossible happens. They told her she was nothing, a broken Omega, too weak to matter, too scarred to be wanted. But when the most feared Alpha in the kingdom loses himself to a curse that could destroy them all, one touch from the girl everyone threw away changes everything. Stay until the end to see how she goes from invisible to unstoppable. Drop a like and tell me what city you're watching from. The chains rattled like broken bones. Elara Thorne pressed herself against the rough stone wall of the courtyard, her breath coming short and shallow. Around her, people screamed. Some ran. Most just stood frozen, watching the spectacle with the kind of sick fascination reserved for public executions and cage fights. In the center of it all, King Darius Vane thrashed against iron restraints thick as a man's wrist. He was magnificent, even in madness. 7 feet of raw muscle and alpha dominance, his bare chest heaving, veins standing out like cables beneath skin covered in scars that told 1,000 violent stories. His eyes, usually the cold gray of winter steel, had gone completely black. Not just the pupils, the entire eye, socket to socket, like staring into an abyss. The curse was taking him. Elara had heard about it in whispers the way servants always heard things. The king's rage, they said. The darkness that lived in his blood. Some claimed it was punishment from the old gods. Others said it was a weapon that had turned on its wielder. Whatever it was killing him, slowly, brutally. And today, it looked like it might finally win. Get back! One of the royal guards, a massive beta named Corvin, shoved people away from the iron post where Darius was chained. Everyone to the walls, now! But nobody really moved. They couldn't. Watching an alpha lose control was like watching a storm tear apart the sky. Terrifying, yes, but impossible to look away from. Darius roared, and the sound wasn't human. It was something older, darker, a noise that made Elara's bones ache and her wolf whimper deep inside her chest. The beast was barely there anymore. Her wolf had been half dead since the rejection, a ghost that only surfaced to remind her of everything she'd lost. The king's chains groaned. One of the iron posts tilted. Shit, Corvin muttered. Shit! Get the mages! Where the hell are the post snapped. Not bent. Snapped. 6 inches of solid iron, reinforced with magic, cracked like kindling. Darius's right arm came free. The crowd's fear shifted into something animal. People shoved. Someone fell. A woman screamed as she was trampled, and the guards couldn't contain it anymore. The courtyard descended into chaos. Elara should have run. Every instinct screamed at her to move, to hide, to get as far from the snarling alpha as possible. But her legs wouldn't work. She stood there, back against the wall, watching as Darius tore his left arm free and lunged at the nearest guard. The man didn't stand a chance. Darius caught him by the throat and lifted him off the ground like he weighed nothing. The guard's face went purple. His legs kicked uselessly. "My lord!" Another guard rushed forward, sword drawn. "My lord, please!" Darius didn't even look at him. He threw the choking guard into the charging one, and both men went down in a tangle of limbs and armor. That's when Elara saw it. In all the chaos, in all the screaming and running and bloodshed, she saw something no one else did. Darius was crying, not sobbing, not making noise, but thick black tears, like ink, like oil, streamed from those pitch-dark eyes and dripped onto his chest. His mouth was open in that terrible roar, but his face was twisted in something that looked almost like agony. He wasn't just losing control. He was trapped inside himself, watching it happen. Elara's wolf stirred, just barely. A faint pulse of recognition, of something that she hadn't felt in 3 years. "Don't," she whispered to herself, to her wolf, to the universe. "Don't you dare." But she was already moving. She didn't think about it. Thinking would have stopped her. Thinking would have reminded her that she was nobody. An Omega so worthless, her own pack had thrown her out. A woman with a wolf so damaged she could barely shift. A servant who slept in the kitchen because even the stables were too good for her. Thinking would have reminded her that alphas didn't just hurt Omegas like her. They destroyed them. But Elara had been destroyed already. 3 years ago, in a rejection that still burned like acid in her chest. She had nothing left to lose. So she walked forward. "Miss!" Corvin grabbed her arm. "Miss, get back! You can't—" She pulled free, kept walking. The courtyard had mostly cleared now. Just the guards, a few brave or stupid nobles, and Darius, standing in the center like a nightmare made flesh. He'd torn a man's arm half off. Blood slicked the cobblestones, his chest heaved with each breath, and that black darkness pulsed in his eyes like a living thing. He turned toward her. Elara stopped. For a heartbeat, she reconsidered everything. This was insane. This was suicide. This was, "Please," she said. Her voice was small, rough from disuse. She didn't speak much anymore. Didn't have anyone to speak to. But it carried in the sudden quiet, and Darius's head tilted like a predator tracking prey. "Please," Elara said again, and took another step. "I know you're in there." Darius snarled, took a step toward her. The guard shouted. Someone yelled for her to run. Elara raised her hand. "I'm nobody," she said, and her voice cracked. I'm not important. I'm not strong. But I see you. I see you fighting, and I need you to hold on, just for a second. Can you do that?" She was close enough now to smell him, blood and sweat, and something wild, something that should have sent her running. But underneath it all was something else, something clean, like rain on stone. Darius's hand shot out. He grabbed her wrist. His grip was crushing. Elara felt bones grind, felt her vision go white with pain, and distantly she thought, "This is it. This is how I die." But she didn't pull away. She stepped closer, and she put her free hand on his chest. The effect was immediate. Darius went rigid. His whole body locked up like she'd hit him with lightning, and for a horrible second Elara thought she'd made it worse. Thought she'd triggered something that would... The darkness in his eyes flickered. Then it was gone. Not fading. Not gradually clearing. Just gone. Like someone had flipped a switch, and suddenly his eyes were gray again. Storm cloud gray, wide with shock, staring at her like he'd never seen another person before. The black tears stopped. Darius's grip on her wrist loosened. His hand fell away. He staggered back a step, breathing hard, and Elara saw the exact moment awareness crashed back into him. Saw him look at the blood on his hands, the broken chains, the injured guards. Saw him realize what he'd done. "No," he whispered. His voice was wrecked, raw. "No, I didn't. I couldn't have." He looked at Elara. She looked back. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The courtyard was dead silent except for the ragged breathing of wounded men and the distant sound of people still fleeing in the streets beyond. Then Darius's legs gave out. He didn't fall. He was too much of a fighter for that. But he went down on one knee, hard, and his head bowed. His shoulders shook. "What did you do?" he asked. Not angry, not accusing, just lost. "What did you do to me?" Elara opened her mouth, closed it. She had no idea. She didn't have power. She didn't have magic. She was broken, damaged, worthless. Everyone had told her so. "I don't know," she said finally. Darius looked up at her and something shifted in his expression. Something that made Elara's stomach drop. Recognition. Not like he knew her. She was certain they'd never met. But like he recognized something in her. Something important. "You're Omega," he said. It wasn't a question, but Elara nodded anyway. "Unmated?" Another nod. "What's your name?" "Elara. Elara Thorne." He stood slowly, still watching her like she might vanish if he blinked. The guards had formed a cautious circle around them, weapons drawn, but pointing at the ground. Nobody seemed sure what to do. "You stopped it," Darius said. "The curse. You stopped it." "I didn't." "You did." He took a step toward her, and Elara's instincts finally caught up with her adrenaline. She stepped back. Darius stopped immediately, raised his hands, palms out, non-threatening. "I won't hurt you," he said quietly. Elara almost laughed, almost told him that hurting her was all anyone ever did, but she swallowed it down and just nodded. "Corvin," Darius said, not taking his eyes off Elara. "Clear the courtyard. Get the wounded to the healers, and send for Chancellor Roth. Now." "My lord, are you—" "Now." Corvin bowed and started barking orders. The guards moved quickly, efficiently, and within minutes the courtyard was empty except for Darius, Elara, and two guards flanking the exit. Darius gestured to a stone bench near the wall. "Sit, please." Elara sat. Her wrist throbbed where he'd grabbed her. She'd have bruises, probably, but nothing felt broken. Small mercies. Darius sat beside her, not too close. Careful. How long have you been here? He asked. In Varkes? 3 years? And before that? Elara's jaw tightened. Does it matter? Yes. She looked at him, really looked. Up close, he was almost overwhelming. Not just the size of him, but the intensity, like staring at a barely contained explosion. But his eyes were clear, human, and tired. So tired. I was part of the Draven pack, Elara said quietly. Northern territories. I was supposed to mate their alpha heir. Darius's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. Supposed to. He rejected me, said I was too weak. Damaged goods. The old words still tasted like ash. His name was Kael, Prince Kael Draven. This time, Darius's reaction was visible. His whole body went tense and his scent shifted, darker, angrier. Kael Draven, he repeated slowly. You were supposed to mate Kael Draven. Yes. And he rejected you. Yes. Darius stood abruptly and started pacing, his hands clenched and unclenched at his sides. That explains. He turned to her. When did you arrive in Varkes? 3 years ago, right after the rejection. I had nowhere else to go. And you've been here the whole time, in the capital? In the castle, Elara corrected. Working in the kitchens. Darius stopped pacing, stared at her. You've been in my castle for 3 years. Yes. And I never knew. It wasn't a question, but Elara answered anyway. You wouldn't. People like me, we're good at being invisible. Something in Darius's expression cracked. He looked away, jaw working. I'm sorry, he said finally. Elara blinked. For what? For not seeing you sooner. For not... He shook his head. It doesn't matter. You're here now. And you did something today that no healer, no mage, no priestess has ever been able to do. I didn't do anything, Elara protested. I just touched you. I don't have power. I don't... You calmed the curse, Darius interrupted. A curse that's been killing me for 5 years. A curse that's taken everything from me. My peace, my control, my humanity. And you stopped it with a touch. He knelt in front of her, eye level. That's not nothing, Elara Thorne. Elara's throat went tight. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him he was wrong, that she was nobody, that... Footsteps echoed across the courtyard. Darius stood smoothly, positioning himself slightly in front of Elara. Protective. An old man in rich robes approached, flanked by 2 more guards. He had a scholar's stoop and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Chancellor Roth, Darius said, thank you for coming so quickly. My lord, Roth bowed. I came as soon as I heard. Are you well? I am, thanks to Miss Thorne. Roth's gaze shifted to Elara, and she fought the urge to shrink back. She was used to being looked at, being looked through. But the Chancellor was actually seeing her, and it was deeply uncomfortable. Fascinating, Roth murmured. May I ask what happened exactly? Darius explained. Briefly, efficiently, leaving out nothing. When he finished, Roth was silent for a long moment. My lord, he said carefully, what you're describing, it shouldn't be possible. I'm aware. An Omega's touch, even a mated bond, doesn't have that kind of power over an Alpha's curse, especially not one as virulent as yours. I'm aware of that too. Roth looked at Elara again. Miss Thorne, do you have any magical training, any bloodline abilities you're aware of? No, Elara said. Nothing. I'm nobody. Nobody, Roth repeated softly. Then to Darius, my lord, I need to run tests. Document this properly. If there's even a chance that Miss Thorne's abilities could provide a permanent solution to your condition, no tests, Darius said flatly. Roth blinked. My lord? Not without her consent. She's not a prisoner. She's not a curiosity to be studied. His voice had gone cold, alpha-edged. She's a person who just saved my life, and I will not repay that by treating her like an experiment. Elara stared at him. Nobody had ever defended her like that. Not ever, actually. Of course, my lord, Roth said smoothly. I apologize. Miss Thorne, would you be willing to speak with me? At your convenience, of course. No pressure. Elara glanced at Darius. He nodded slightly. I suppose, she said. Excellent. Roth bowed. I'll arrange it for tomorrow, if that suits. It does, Darius said. Dismissed. Roth left, taking the guards with him. Silence fell again. Darius turned to Elara. You should rest. I'll have rooms prepared for you. Proper rooms, not the servants' quarters. That's not necessary. It is. His voice was firm, but not unkind. You saved my life, Elara. The least I can do is ensure you're comfortable. Elara wanted to argue, wanted to tell him she didn't belong in noble rooms, that she was fine where she was, but the truth was, she was exhausted. Bone-deep, soul-tired, exhausted. And the thought of sleeping in an actual bed, in a room with a door that locked, was almost painfully tempting. Okay, she said quietly. Darius smiled. It was small, cautious, like he was out of practice. But it was real. Good, he said. Come on, I'll show you myself. The room was obscene. That was Elara's first thought when Darius opened the door to what he called the guest suite. It was bigger than the entire kitchen where she'd been sleeping. A massive four-poster bed dominated the space, draped in deep blue silk that probably cost more than she'd earn in a lifetime. A fireplace crackled in the corner. Thick rugs covered polished wood floors. Windows overlooked the city, showing the lights of Varkis spreading out like fallen stars. This is too much, Elara said. It's a guest room, Darius replied. One of the smaller ones, actually. She turned to stare at him. This is small? He shrugged, looking almost embarrassed. Royal castle. Everything's excessive. Elara walked to the window, trailing her fingers over furniture that was worth more than her life. Outside, the city glittered. She'd lived here 3 years and never seen it like this. From above, beautiful and distant. Why are you doing this? She asked, without turning around. I told you, you saved... No. She faced him. Why are you being kind to me? You don't know me. I'm nobody. Stop saying that. Darius's voice had gone hard, not angry, but firm, final. You're not nobody, Elara, and I'm tired of hearing you say it. It's true. It's not. He stepped closer and Elara's breath caught. You walked into danger to help someone you didn't know. You showed more courage in 5 minutes than most people show in a lifetime. That's not nobody. That's a hero. Elara laughed, bitter and sharp. I'm not a hero. I'm a broken Omega who got lucky. Broken, Darius repeated. Is that what Kyle told you? The name hit like a slap. Elara flinched. Darius's expression softened. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have... He said I was defective, Elara heard herself say. The words spilled out before she could stop them. 3 years of poison finally finding an exit. That my wolf was wrong. That I'd never be strong enough to stand beside an alpha. Never be worthy of the Draven name. He said rejecting me was a mercy because otherwise I'd just be a liability. A weakness. Her voice broke on the last word. Darius was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, very softly, Kyle Draven is a fool. Elara looked up, vision blurred with tears she refused to let fall. You're not weak, Darius continued. You're not defective, and you're sure as hell not worthless. Anyone who can do what you did today, anyone who can face down a cursed alpha and stop him with nothing but courage and a touch, is powerful. Maybe not in the way the packs measure it, but in ways that actually matter. Elara couldn't speak. Her throat was too tight. Get some rest, Darius said gently. Tomorrow's going to be complicated. But you're safe here. I promise you that. He turned to leave. Why? Elara asked. He paused in the doorway. Why what? Why do you care? About me? About any of this? You're a king. I'm nobody. You could just lock me up, study me, figure out what I did, and then throw me away. It would be easier. Darius looked back at her, and something in his eyes made Elara's chest ache. I've been a prisoner of this curse for 5 years, he said quietly. I know what it's like to be treated as a thing instead of a person. I won't do that to you, not ever. Then he was gone, the door clicking shut behind him. Elara stood alone in the beautiful room, in the castle that had been her home but never her home. And for the first time in 3 years, she cried. Not the silent, swallowed tears she'd perfected in the kitchens. Real crying, the kind that shook her whole body and left her gasping. She cried for the girl she'd been before Kael destroyed her. She cried for the 3 years she'd spent invisible. She cried for the wolf inside her that was still broken, still barely there. And when she finally stopped, when she finally crawled into that obscenely soft bed and pulled the silk covers over her battered body, she felt not healed, not fixed, but maybe, possibly, for the first time in a very long time, seen. Elara woke to screaming. She bolted upright, heart hammering, instincts screaming danger before her brain fully caught up. For a confused second, she didn't know where she was. The room was too big, too nice, too wrong. And then it all came rushing back. The courtyard, the king, the touch. And now someone was screaming. Elara threw off the covers and ran to the door. Locked. No, wait. Locked from the inside. She twisted the bolt and yanked it open. The hallway was chaos. Guards ran past, weapons drawn. Servants pressed themselves against the walls, eyes wide with terror. And that screaming, it was coming from somewhere deeper in the castle. Multiple voices now, shouting, crying. What's happening? Elara grabbed a passing servant girl, young, maybe 16, face streaked with tears. The king! The girl sobbed. The king's gone mad again. Ice flooded Elara's veins. No, that's not possible. I stopped it. But the girl had already pulled free and run. Elara didn't think. She just moved. She ran through hallways she didn't know, following the sound of destruction. Crashed through a door and found herself in what looked like a council room. Long table, high windows, maps on the walls. And Darius. He had Chancellor Roth by the throat, lifting him off the ground. Those black eyes were back, that terrible darkness, and Roth's face was purple, his legs kicking uselessly. No! Elara shouted. Darius's head whipped toward her. For a heartbeat, she saw nothing in those eyes. No recognition, no humanity. Then she ran forward and grabbed his arm. Let him go, she said. Please, let him go. Darius snarled, but his grip loosened. Roth dropped, gasping, scrambling backward. Elara put both hands on Darius's chest, right over his heart. Come back, she whispered. Come back to me. The darkness flickered, fought, and slowly, painfully, it receded. Darius stumbled back, breathing hard. His eyes cleared to gray, and the horror that flooded them was worse than the curse had been. I did it again, he said. I lost control again. You didn't kill anyone, Elara said quickly. You stopped. You came back. Because of you. He looked at her, and there was something desperate in his gaze. It only works when you touch me. The moment you're gone, it comes back. Elara's stomach sank. That can't be right. Yesterday, when you recovered, you were fine for hours. I wasn't fine, Darius interrupted. I was holding on, barely. And the moment I went to sleep, the moment I let my guard down, he gestured at the destruction around them. Broken furniture, shattered windows, blood on the floor from where Roth had bitten his tongue. Roth himself was being helped up by guards, wheezing, but alive. My lord, he croaked. My lord, with respect. We need to consider binding Miss Thorne to you, permanently. Elara went cold. Binding? A mate bond, Roth explained, still rubbing his throat. It's the only way to ensure constant connection. If her touch calms you, then her presence as a mate would— No, Darius said flatly. My lord, no. The alpha command in his voice made everyone flinch. I will not force a bond. I will not trap her in a life she didn't choose. We'll find another way. There is no other way, Roth's voice rose, fear and frustration bleeding through. My lord, you nearly killed me just now. You've killed before when the curse takes hold. How many more people have to die before you accept that you need her? Silence fell. Darius looked at Elara, really looked at her. What do you want? He asked quietly. Elara blinked. What? What do you want? Not what I need, not what the kingdom needs. You. What do you want? Nobody had ever asked her that. Not once. Not ever. Elara opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. I don't, she swallowed hard, want to be forced. I don't want to be used. You won't be, Darius said. I promise you that. But people will die if I leave. That's not your responsibility. Isn't it? Elara's voice cracked. If I have the power to stop this, and I don't, doesn't that make me responsible? Darius's expression softened. No, it makes you human. You don't owe me anything, Elara. You don't owe this kingdom anything. You've already given more than anyone had a right to ask. Elara looked around the room, at Roth, still shaken, at the guards, watching warily, at the destruction Darius had caused in minutes, at Darius himself standing there with those tired, desperate eyes. And she thought about yesterday, about the way he'd defended her, refused to let Roth treat her like an experiment, given her a room, kindness, choice. Nobody had given her choice in 3 years. I'll stay, she said quietly. Darius's eyes widened. Elara, not because I have to, because I want to. She took a breath. But not a mate bond. Not yet. Not until I know it's real. Real? Not just the curse, not just need. She met his gaze. If we're going to do this, I need to know you want me, not just what I can do for you. Darius was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. Fair enough, he said. We'll find another way. Roth looked like he wanted to argue, but one look at Darius's face and he wisely stayed silent. In the meantime, Darius continued, Elara stays in the castle as my, guest? Advisor? Companion, Elara suggested. I'll stay close. Help when the curse comes. We'll figure out the rest as we go. It wasn't a solution. It wasn't even close. But it was a start. And for the first time in 3 years, Elara felt like she was building something instead of just surviving. Even if she had no idea what she was building toward. Even if the broken wolf inside her was still silent, still damaged, still wrong. She was choosing. And that had to count for something. Elara heard them through the walls of her new room, servants passing in the corridor, their voices low but sharp with speculation. Staying in the guest wing, touched him and he just stopped. Omega, can you believe it? What's she doing to him? Elara pressed her palms against her eyes and tried to breathe through the tightness in her chest. She'd been here before. Different castle, different voices, same poison underneath. What's wrong with her? Why would an alpha want that? She's broken. She dressed quickly in the clothes that had been left for her, simple but well made, better than anything she'd owned in years, and slipped out into the hallway. Early morning light filtered through tall windows, painting everything gold and gentle. Beautiful. Wrong. She didn't belong here. Miss Thorne. Elara turned. Chancellor Roth stood a few paces away, hands clasped behind his back. His neck was still bruised from yesterday, purple and yellow spreading beneath his collar. Chancellor, she said carefully. I wanted to apologize, Roth said, for yesterday, for suggesting the forced bond. It was inappropriate. Elara studied him. He looked sincere, but she'd learned not to trust appearances. You were scared, she said. I understand. Scared for the kingdom, Roth corrected. But you're right. Fear doesn't excuse cruelty. He paused. The king wants to see you. He's in the training yard. Of course he was. Alphas like Darius didn't sit still. They moved, fought, burned off energy before it turned inward. Elara followed Roth through corridors that were starting to fill with morning activity. Servants stopped to stare. Guards watched her pass with expressions ranging from curiosity to suspicion. One older woman actually spat on the ground after Elara walked by. Ignore them, Roth murmured. They don't understand. Do you? Elara asked. Roth was quiet for a moment. No, he admitted, but I'm trying to. The training yard was a wide courtyard behind the castle, ringed with practice dummies and weapon racks. Darius was in the center, stripped to the waist despite the morning chill, working through forms with a massive broadsword. Each movement was precise, controlled, almost meditative. He was beautiful. Elara hated that she noticed, hated that her traitorous heart skipped when he turned and saw her, when that hard expression softened into something almost like relief. "Elara," he said, lowering the sword. Sweat gleamed on his skin. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep." "Neither could I." He set the sword aside and grabbed a towel, wiping his face. "How are you feeling?" "Fine. You?" "Same." But the lie was obvious. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his hands trembled slightly as he dried them. "You're not fine," Elara said. Darius smiled, bitter and tired. "No, but I'm here. That's more than I could say yesterday." Roth cleared his throat. "My lord, if I may, I've been researching Miss Thorne's abilities. There are some historical precedents I'd like to discuss." "Go ahead." Roth pulled a worn leather journal from his robes. "There are legends, old ones, from before the Great War, of Omegas who could influence alpha power. They were called nulls, rare, maybe one in a generation." Elara frowned. "I've never heard of them. Most people haven't. The bloodlines died out centuries ago, or so we thought." Roth looked at her with something like excitement. "But if you're a null, Miss Thorne, it would explain everything. The way you calm the king, the way your touch affects his curse." "Nulls don't just calm," Darius said slowly. "They control, right?" "According to the texts, yes, they could suppress an alpha's power entirely, render them, well, normal." Elara's stomach dropped. "I didn't make him normal. I just stopped the curse." "Perhaps because you weren't trying to do more," Roth suggested. "Perhaps because you don't know what you're capable of. Or perhaps," a new voice cut in, "she's exactly what she appears to be. A broken Omega who got lucky." Elara turned. A woman stood at the edge of the training yard. Tall, elegant, with the kind of beauty that looked carved rather than born. Her dark hair was pulled back in an intricate braid, and she wore armor like other women wore jewelry, perfectly fitted, clearly expensive, more for show than function. But the sword at her hip looked well used. "Lady Cassandra," Darius said, and something in his tone made Elara's wolf stir uneasily. "I wasn't expecting you." "Clearly," Cassandra's gaze swept over Elara with open disdain. "I heard rumors, thought I'd see for myself if they were true." "And?" "And it's worse than I imagined." She walked forward, moving with a predator's grace. "You've brought an Omega into the castle, given her guest quarters, and from what I hear, you're considering making her your companion." "That's not your concern," Darius said. "It's everyone's concern when the king starts making decisions with his curse instead of his head." Cassandra stopped a few feet away, and Elara caught her scent, alpha, strong, threaded with anger. "She's using you, Darius. Can't you see that?" "I'm standing right here," Elara said quietly. Cassandra's eyes flicked to her. "Oh, I know. Hard to miss the charity case playing dress-up in clothes she didn't earn." "Cassandra," Darius warned. "What?" "It's true. Look at her. She's terrified, weak, the kind of Omega who breaks under pressure and drags everyone down with her." Cassandra smiled, sharp and cold. "I knew another Omega like that once. She was going to mate Kael Draven, until he realized what she really was and threw her out like garbage." Elara's blood went cold. "How do you—" "I know Kael," Cassandra said. "We grew up together, trained together, and when he told me about the defective Omega he'd wasted time on, I laughed. Because what kind of fool alpha gets stuck with broken goods?" The world narrowed to a single point. Elara's hands clenched at her sides, nails biting into her palms. "Enough," Darius said. His voice had gone flat, dangerous. "You don't speak to her like that." "Why not? Someone needs to tell the truth." "She's poison, Darius. She'll destroy you the same way she would have destroyed Kael if he'd been stupid enough to keep her." "I said enough." The command hit like a physical blow. Cassandra actually stepped back, and for a second her alpha composure cracked into something human. Hurt, maybe, or shock. "You're defending her," Cassandra said. "Over me. You're attacking a guest under my protection. What did you expect?" "I expected you to see reason." Cassandra's voice rose. "This Omega shows up, touches you once, and suddenly you're ready to throw away everything? Your reputation? Your alliances? Me?" Silence fell like a hammer. "You," Darius repeated slowly. "Cassandra, we were never—" "Don't." She held up a hand. "Don't insult me by pretending you didn't know. 5 years, Darius. 5 years I've stood by you, helped you, waited for you to get control of that curse so we could finally move forward. And now you're going to throw it all away for some broken Omega who will probably run the second things get hard? Elara wanted to disappear, wanted the ground to open up and swallow her whole. This was too much, too public, too raw. I never made you promises, Darius said quietly. I never led you on. You didn't have to. I knew. Everyone knew. We were meant for each other. Strong alpha, strong mate, not... She gestured at Elara. This. Get out, Darius said. Cassandra flinched. What? Get out of my castle. Now. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. You insulted a guest, disrespected someone under my protection, and you did it because you're jealous and small. His voice was ice. So yes, get out, and don't come back until you've remembered what basic decency looks like. For a long moment, Cassandra just stared at him. Then she looked at Elara, and the hatred in her eyes was so pure it felt like a blade. You'll regret this, she said. Not to Darius, to Elara. When he realizes what you really are, when the curse takes him and you can't stop it, when everyone you've ever cared about ends up dead because you weren't strong enough. Then she turned and walked away, spine rigid, every step screaming wounded pride. Elara's legs felt weak. She sat down hard on a nearby bench. I'm sorry, Darius said. He sat beside her, careful to leave space. I didn't know she felt that way. I should have... It's fine, Elara interrupted. Her voice sounded distant, not quite her own. She's right anyway. No, she's not. She is. Elara looked at him. I am broken, Darius. My wolf is barely there. I can't shift properly. I'm weak. And everything she said about Kael, it's all true. Kael was wrong, Darius said firmly. And Cassandra's a bitter alpha who can't handle rejection. That's not your fault. Isn't it? Elara's laugh was hollow. Everyone who gets close to me ends up hurt, or dead, or... Hey, Darius shifted closer, not touching, but present. Look at me. She did. You're not broken, he said. You're surviving. There's a difference. Elara wanted to believe him, wanted it so badly it hurt, but she'd heard these words before. Different voice, different castle, same lies. You're special, Elara. I see something in you. You're mine. And then, you're worthless, defective, nothing. I need to go, she said abruptly, standing. Elara, I just need some air. I'm fine. She wasn't fine, but she walked away before Darius could argue, before Roth could offer more historical explanations, before anyone could see the cracks spreading through her carefully maintained composure. She made it to the gardens before the panic hit. The gardens were extensive, sprawling across the eastern side of the castle in a tangle of carefully controlled wilderness. Elara found a bench hidden behind a hedge of night-blooming roses and sat down, forcing air into her lungs. Breathe. Just breathe. But her body didn't want to cooperate. Her chest felt too tight, her vision too narrow, and that familiar static buzz was building in her head, the same feeling she got right before her wolf tried to surface and failed, leaving her caught in that horrible in-between space where she was neither human nor anything else. Easy, she whispered to herself. To her wolf. Easy. Don't try, just stay down. The wolf whimpered, pushed. Pain lanced through Elara's spine. Her bones creaked, trying to shift, trying to break, and she curled forward with a bitten-off scream. Stop, she gasped. Stop, please. It won't work. It never works. But the wolf was panicking too, desperate for freedom, desperate to run. And then, like it always did, the shift failed. Elara collapsed onto her hands and knees, breathing hard, tasting blood where she'd bitten her tongue. Her spine felt like someone had taken a hammer to it. Her hands shook, broken, defective. Nothing. Miss Thorne? Elara's head snapped up. A young man stood at the edge of the path, early 20s maybe, with auburn hair and the kind of open, friendly face that made people instinctively trust him. He wore simple traveling clothes, dusty from the road, and carried himself with the easy confidence of someone who'd never been told he didn't belong. I'm sorry, he said, raising his hands. I didn't mean to startle you. Are you all right? Fine, Elara managed. She tried to stand and nearly fell. The man caught her elbow, steadying her. You don't look fine. Should I get a healer? No, no healers. Elara pulled away carefully. Who are you? Right. Sorry. I'm Marcus. Marcus Webb. I just arrived from the Northern Territories with an urgent message for King Darius. He tilted his head, studying her. You're the Omega everyone's talking about, aren't you? The one who can calm the curse. Elara's throat tightened. News travels fast. Bad news always does. Marcus smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. For what it's worth, half the castle thinks you're a miracle. The other half thinks you're a spy. And you? I think you look like someone who needs a friend. It was such a simple statement, so earnest, and Elara was so tired of suspicion and politics and weight she didn't ask for. What's the message? She asked instead. Marcus's expression darkened. It's complicated, and probably something I should tell the king first, but he glanced around, lowered his voice. Have you heard of Prince Kyle Draven? Every muscle in Elara's body locked up. Yes, she said carefully. He's coming, here, to Varkes. Marcus watched her face. With an army. The world tilted. What? 3,000 soldiers, maybe more. They crossed the border 2 days ago, moving fast. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. My sources say he's demanding an audience with the king, and he hesitated. He's asking for someone. An Omega. He wouldn't give a name, but it's me, Elara whispered. He's looking for me. Marcus didn't look surprised. You know him? I was supposed to mate him 3 years ago. He rejected me, and now he's crossing borders with an army to find you. Marcus let out a low whistle. That's not a rejection. That's a hunt. Elara's mind raced. Kale was coming. Here. With soldiers. Why? What did he want? She was nothing to him. Less than nothing. He'd made that clear when he... You were never weak. You were hidden. The memory surfaced unbidden. Kale's voice, cold and measured, the night he'd torn their bond apart. Did you really think I didn't know what you were? I've been watching you since you were 16, waiting, planning. She'd thought he was just being cruel, twisting the knife. But what if he'd meant it literally? I need to tell Darius, Elara said. She tried to stand again. This time she made it. Now. Where is he? Probably still in the training yard, but Miss Thorne, Elara. My name is Elara. Marcus nodded. Elara. If Kael's coming for you, you need to understand what that means. He's not just some jilted alpha. He's the heir to the Draven pack, one of the most powerful families in the north, and he doesn't do anything without a reason. I know what he is, Elara said. Her voice came out harder than she intended. I know exactly what he is. She turned and ran. What's up? She found Darius in the council chamber, bent over a map with Roth and 3 advisors. He looked up when she burst in, and whatever he saw in her face made him go still. Everyone out, he said. The advisors hesitated. Out. They left, quickly. Darius came around the table. What happened? Kale's coming. The words tumbled out in a rush. Prince Kale Draven. He's crossed the border with an army. He's looking for me. Darius's expression went cold, flat, dangerous. How do you know this? A messenger, Marcus Webb. He just arrived. Roth. Darius's voice could have shattered stone. Get in here. The door opened immediately. Roth must have been standing just outside. My lord? Is it true? Is Kale Draven marching on Varkes? Roth's face went carefully blank. Yes, my lord. Word arrived this morning. I was waiting for the right moment to... You were waiting? Darius's control cracked. An enemy army is marching toward my capital, and you were waiting? I didn't want to alarm you unnecessarily. Get out! My lord! Get out! Roth fled. Silence crashed down like a wave. Darius turned to Elara, and she saw it happening, saw the darkness starting to creep into his eyes, that terrible black rising like a tide. No, she said. She crossed the distance between them and grabbed his hands. No, you don't get to lose it now. I need you here. He's coming for you, Darius said. His voice was rough, strained. That bastard who broke you. He's coming to take you back. I won't go. He has an army. I don't care. Elara squeezed his hands tighter. I'm not leaving. I'm not running. Not again. The darkness flickered, fought. Darius took a shuddering breath. Why does he want you? After 3 years, why now? I don't know, but Marcus said... She swallowed hard. He said Kael doesn't do anything without a reason. And on the night he rejected me, he said something about watching me, waiting. Waiting for what? For me to manifest, maybe? For whatever this is, she gestured vaguely at herself. To fully develop? You think he knew, Darius said slowly. You think he knew what you were and he rejected you on purpose. I think he's been tracking me for 3 years, and now that I've revealed myself, he's coming to collect. Elara nodded. Darius's hands tightened on hers. The darkness receded completely, replaced by something sharper, clearer, lethal. Over my dead body, he said. That might be what he's counting on, Elara replied. You fight him. The curse takes over. I try to stop it, and in the chaos he takes me. Then we don't fight. He has 3,000 soldiers. You think he's going to just leave? No. Darius let go of her hands and turned to the map. But he'll want to talk first, make demands. Kael's arrogant. He'll want to gloat. And you'll use that time to prepare, Darius pointed to the map. Varkius has strong walls, good defenses. We can't match his numbers, but we can make it costly for him to attack. He won't care about cost, Elara said. Not if he wants me badly enough. Darius looked at her. Then we make sure he can't have you. How? The trial, a voice said from the doorway. They both turned. Roth stood there looking pale but determined. I thought I told you to leave, Darius said coldly. You did. I ignored it. My lord, if you'll let me explain, make it fast. Roth stepped into the room. There's an ancient rite, older than the kingdoms. It's called the trial of truth. Any Omega can invoke it if they feel they've been falsely claimed or rejected. What kind of trial? Elara asked. A spiritual one. You enter a sacred space, there's one beneath the old temple, and face your deepest truths. If you survive, you emerge. Transformed. Powerful. Free from anyone's claim. And if I don't survive? Roth's silence was answer enough. No, Darius said. Absolutely not. It's my choice, Elara said. It's suicide. It's a chance. Elara looked at the map, at the armies marked in red ink, at the castle that would become a battlefield. If Kael wants me because of what I am, what I can do, then maybe I need to become more than that. Something he can't control. You don't even know what you are yet, Darius argued. The trial could kill you, Elara. Or worse. Roth, tell her. Tell her what happened to the last Omega who tried this. Roth cleared his throat. She didn't survive. But my lord, that was over a century ago. The circumstances were different. Were they? Darius rounded on him. Or are you just desperate enough to send an untrained Omega into a death trap because it's convenient? I'm trying to give her options. You're giving her false hope. Stop it! Elara's voice cracked like a whip. Both men went quiet. Stop fighting about me like I'm not standing right here. Stop making decisions for me. I've had enough of that to last a lifetime. She took a breath, steadied herself. I'll do the trial, she said, not because I want to, not because I think it'll be easy, but because the alternative is war, and I won't be responsible for thousands of deaths just because I was too afraid to try. You're not responsible, Darius said. His voice had gone quiet, desperate. None of this is your fault. Isn't it? Elara smiled, sad and tired. I came here. I touched you. I set all of this in motion, and now Kael's coming because of me. So yes, it is my fault, and I'm going to fix it. Or die trying. Maybe. Elara met his eyes. But at least it'll be my choice. For once in my life, I get to choose. Darius looked at her for a long moment. She watched emotions flicker across his face. Anger, fear, something that might have been grief. Then he nodded. Okay, he said, but not alone. If you're doing this, I'm there, every step. My lord, the trial requires... I don't care what it requires, Darius interrupted. If Elara goes in, I go in. Find a way to make it work. Roth opened his mouth, closed it, nodded. When? Elara asked. Kale's army will arrive in 2 days, Roth said. We'd need to begin preparations immediately. The temple needs to be cleansed. Ward set. You'd need to fast, meditate. We start now, Elara said. No time to waste. Roth bowed and left. Elara and Darius stood alone in the council chamber, surrounded by maps of war. Are you scared? Darius asked quietly. Terrified, Elara admitted. You? Same. He smiled, small and broken. But I meant what I said. You don't face this alone. Why? The question burst out before Elara could stop it. Why do you care so much? We barely know each other. I'm just some Omega who happened to touch you at the right time. You don't owe me anything. Darius was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful, honest. When the curse takes me, he said, I'm trapped. I can see everything happening, but I can't stop it, can't control it. It's like drowning, like being buried alive. And for 5 years, I've lived with the knowledge that one day I'll drown completely and never come back. He looked at her. And then you touched me. And for the first time in 5 years, I could breathe, really breathe. His voice roughened. You gave me that, Elara. Hope, freedom, a future. So when you ask why I care, that's why. Because you saved my life, and I'll be damned if I let you face this trial alone. Elara's chest ached. She wanted to say something, thank you maybe, or I'm sorry, or please don't make me hope for something real when I've never had anything real before. Instead, she just nodded, and tried not to think about what would happen if she didn't survive the trial. Or worse, what would happen if she did, and Kyle was waiting on the other side. The preparations began immediately. Roth gathered priests from the old temple, the one that predated the castle, built into the bedrock itself. They spoke in languages Elara didn't understand and drew symbols on her skin with ash and blessed water. She was given white robes, told to eat nothing but bread and honey, told to meditate, to center herself, to prepare her spirit for what was coming. It felt like preparing for a funeral. On the second day, as the sun began to set, Marcus Webb found her in the gardens again. Hey, he said. Mind if I sit? Elara gestured to the bench. Marcus sat, stretching his long legs out in front of him. Word is you're doing the trial tomorrow, he said. Word travels fast. It does when a prince shows up with an army. Marcus was quiet for a moment. For what it's worth, I think you're brave. Or crazy. Probably both. Probably, Elara agreed. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did Kale reject you? The real reason. Elara looked at him. He said I was broken, defective. But you're not. How would you know? Marcus smiled. Because broken people don't walk into cursed kings and stop them with a touch. Broken people don't volunteer for death trials to save strangers. You're a lot of things, Elara Thorne, but broken isn't one of them. Something in Elara's chest cracked, not broke. Cracked open, like light finding its way through stone. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet. Marcus stood. Survive tomorrow. Then I'll accept your gratitude. He walked away, leaving Elara alone with the setting sun and the weight of what was coming. That night, she couldn't sleep. She stood at the window of her room, watching torches flicker on the walls. Somewhere out there, Kyle was marching toward the city, toward her. And tomorrow, she would either become something powerful enough to stop him, or she would cease to exist entirely. A knock at the door made her turn. Come in. Darius entered. He was dressed simply. No crown, no armor. Just a man who looked as tired as she felt. Couldn't sleep either? He asked. No. He crossed to the window, standing beside her, close but not touching. I've been thinking, he said, about what happens if the trial goes wrong. Darius, let me finish. He took a breath. If something happens to you in there, if you don't come back, I want you to know that these past few days, they mattered. You mattered, and I'm sorry I didn't see you sooner. Elara's throat went tight. You couldn't have known! I should have. His voice roughened. I should have looked, should have seen all the invisible people keeping my castle running, should have been better. You're being better now. Darius turned to look at her. Am I? I'm sending you into a death trial because I'm too weak to protect you any other way. You're not sending me. I'm choosing. It doesn't feel like a choice when the alternative is war. Elara reached out, hesitated, then took his hand. His fingers were warm, rough with calluses, trembling slightly. It's still a choice, she said quietly, and I'm making it. For me. For you. For everyone who'll die if Kael gets what he wants. Darius's hand tightened on hers. What if I can't let you go? Then you'll have to anyway, because this is bigger than both of us now. They stood like that for a long time, hands joined, watching the night settle over the city. And when Darius finally left, Elara felt something shift inside her. Not her broken wolf. Something deeper. Something that felt almost like strength. Dawn came too quickly. Elara was woken by priests chanting outside her door. She dressed in the white robes, braided her hair, tried not to think about the fact that she might not see another sunrise. Darius met her in the hall. He wore similar robes. Apparently he'd convinced Roth to let him witness the trial, if not participate directly. Ready? He asked. No, Elara said honestly. You? Not even close. They walked together through corridors lit by candles, down stone steps that seemed to descend forever, into the heart of the temple. The trial chamber was circular, carved from black stone, with symbols covering every surface. In the center stood a pool of water that glowed with its own light. Not blue, not white. Something in between. Something other. Roth stood at the edge, flanked by priests. The trial of truth requires complete honesty, he said. You'll enter the pool. The water will show you visions, memories, fears, truths you've been avoiding. You must face them all, accept them. Only then will you emerge transformed. And if I don't accept them, Elara asked, then the water takes you, and you're gone. Elara nodded, stepped toward the pool. Elara! She turned. Darius stood a few feet away, eyes gray and clear and desperate. Come back, he said, please. I'll try, she said. Then she stepped into the water. It was cold. So cold it burned. Elara gasped, tried to pull back, but the water had her now, pulling her down, down, into darkness that felt like drowning and flying and dying all at once. The last thing she heard was Darius screaming her name. And then there was only the truth. The water wasn't water. Elara realized this the moment it closed over her head. It was thicker, heavier, like liquid night pouring into her lungs. She tried to scream, but no sound came. Tried to swim, but her limbs wouldn't move. She was suspended in nothing, drowning in everything, and the cold was so intense it felt like her bones were turning to ice. Then the visions started. The first one hit like a fist to the chest. She was 16 again, standing in the Draven Pack's great hall. Kael stood before her, beautiful and terrible, his hand extended. You'll be mine, he said. My Omega, my mate. And 16-year-old Elara, stupid and hopeful and so desperately lonely, took his hand. The vision shifted, blurred. She was older now, 19, maybe 20, sitting in Kael's study while he paced. Your wolf is weak, he said. Not cruel, clinical, like diagnosing a disease. It won't manifest properly. Do you know why? No, Elara whispered. Because you're not meant to be normal. Kael stopped pacing, looked at her with eyes that held no warmth. You're something else, something rare, and I've spent 4 years watching you, waiting for it to surface. What are you talking about? A null. That's what the old texts call it. An Omega who can suppress alpha power, control it, reshape it. He smiled, and it was the smile of a man who'd won a game she didn't know they were playing. You're going to be magnificent, Elara. Once you're fully developed, once I've broken you down enough to rebuild you exactly how I need you. Elara stood, trembling. I'm not a thing to be rebuilt. Aren't you? Kael crossed to her, grabbed her chin. Not gentle. You're mine. You've always been mine. And when your power finally manifests, I'll use it to take everything. The northern territories, Varkas, the whole damn kingdom. I won't help you. You won't have a choice. His grip tightened. That's the beauty of rejection, Elara. It doesn't break the bond. Not really. It just stretches it, thins it, makes it invisible. But it's still there. And when I'm ready, I'll pull that thread and you'll come running back like a good little Omega. The vision shattered. Elara gasped, or tried to. The water that wasn't water crushed tighter. A new memory formed. The rejection. 3 years ago. Kale standing in front of the entire pack, his voice carrying across the hall. I reject you, Elara Thorn. You are not worthy to stand at my side. The pain had been unbearable, like someone reached into her chest and tore her heart out through her ribs. She'd collapsed, screamed, begged, and Kale had watched with cold satisfaction. But now, seeing it through the lens of the trial, Elara noticed things she'd missed in her agony. The way Kael's hand moved in a specific pattern behind his back. The way 3 pack shamans stood in the shadows, chanting softly. The way the rejection had hurt too much, lasted too long, left scars that never fully healed. He hadn't just rejected her, he'd cursed her, bound her, made sure that no matter where she ran, she'd always be connected to him. When your power finally manifests, I'll pull that thread and you'll come running back. No, Elara tried to say. The water swallowed the word. The visions came faster now, fragmented, brutal. Her mother, dying when Elara was 12, whispering, "Don't let them see what you are. Hide it. Always hide it." A stranger in the marketplace when she was 8, grabbing her wrist, eyes going wide. You're one of them. A balance. They'll kill you if they know. Her wolf. Not broken, but bound. Chained by Kael's curse. Prevented from manifesting because if it did, if Elara accessed her full power before he was ready, she'd be beyond his control. The realization hit like lightning. She wasn't weak. She'd never been weak. She'd been sabotaged. Rage flooded through her, hot and clean and absolutely merciless. 3 years of thinking she was broken. 3 years of shame and self-hatred and believing every terrible thing Kael had told her. And it was all a lie. I'm going to kill him, she said into the water. And this time her voice carried. The water rippled, shifted. A new vision formed. Not a memory, a possibility. She saw herself standing in a battlefield. Bodies everywhere. Darius lay at her feet, eyes black with curse, chest torn open. Kael stood across from her, smiling. I told you, Vision Kael said. You always come back. And Vision Elara, broken and defeated, fell to her knees. No, real Elara said. That's not how this ends. The water pressed harder, demanding. Accept the truth. You are weak. You are broken. You will always be his. No. He made you. He owns you. He doesn't own anything. You'll fail. The king will die. Everyone you care about will burn. Maybe, Elara said, but I'll burn with them. On my feet. Fighting. The pressure became unbearable. Her ribs creaked. Her lungs screamed for air that didn't exist. But somewhere deep inside, past the broken wolf, past the curse, past 3 years of carefully constructed walls, something woke up. It wasn't her wolf. It was older than that, deeper. A power that had been sleeping since she was born, waiting for this exact moment, waiting for her to stop accepting what she'd been told and start believing what she knew. I am not broken. I am not weak. I am not his. The power exploded outward. The water shattered like glass. Elara was thrown backward, gasping, coughing, alive in a way she'd never been before. Every nerve ending sang. Her wolf surged to the surface, not broken, not bound, but whole and furious and free. She shifted, not the agonizing failed attempts she'd struggled with for years. This was effortless, natural. Her body flowed from human to wolf in a heartbeat, and she was magnificent, larger than a normal Omega wolf, silver-white fur that seemed to glow, eyes that burned with power. Then she shifted back just as easily. Elara stood in the center of the trial chamber, naked and shaking and transformed. The white robes she'd worn were gone, disintegrated by the shift. Water dripped from her skin, but she wasn't cold anymore, wasn't scared. She was awake. Darius was on his knees at the edge of the pool, Roth beside him, both staring at her like she'd risen from the dead. Elara? Darius's voice cracked. Is that... Are you... I'm here. Her voice sounded different, stronger. I'm okay. She started to climb out of the pool. Darius moved faster than she'd ever seen him move, grabbing a cloak from one of the priests and wrapping it around her shoulders before she'd even fully emerged. You were under for 3 hours, he said. His hand shook as he fastened the cloak. 3 hours, Elara. You weren't breathing. Your heart stopped. We thought, I'm fine. She caught his hands, steadied them. Better than fine. I know what I am now. What Kyle did. What he wants. What? Roth demanded. He looked shaken, but hungry for information. What did you see? Elara told them. Everything. The curse Kyle had layered into the rejection. The bond he'd left active but invisible. The way he'd been tracking her, waiting for her power to manifest so he could use her as a weapon. When she finished, the chamber was silent. Then Darius said, very quietly, I'm going to tear him apart. Get in line, Elara replied. Roth cleared his throat. My lord, Miss Thorne, if what you're saying is true, this changes everything. A forced bond that was never properly severed, combined with her null abilities, Kael could theoretically activate that bond at will. Force her to obey him. Use her power against us. Not anymore, Elara said. What do you mean? I broke it. In the trial. I felt it snap. She touched her chest where the phantom pain of rejection had lived for 3 years. It was gone. Completely. He doesn't have a hold on me anymore. Are you certain? Roth pressed. Yes. Then we have a chance, Darius said. He turned to Roth. How long until Kael's army arrives? They're at the gates now, my lord. The room went cold. Now? Darius's voice could have cut steel. Why didn't you? I came to tell you immediately, but Miss Thorne's trial had just concluded. I thought. Darius was already moving, dragging Elara with him. Get her real clothes. Armor if we have anything that fits, and mobilize the guards. Full defensive positions, now. The priests scattered. Elara and Darius ran through corridors that were suddenly filled with soldiers, servants fleeing to safe rooms, the organized chaos of a castle preparing for siege. You need to hide, Darius said as they climbed the stairs to the main level. There's a safe room beneath the... I'm not hiding. Elara. I just survived a death trial and broke a 3-year curse. I'm not hiding in a basement while Kael destroys your city. She stopped, pulled him around to face her. I can help. I can fight. You're not trained. I don't need to be. She felt the power humming under her skin, vast and barely controlled. I can shut down an alpha's power with a touch. Remember? What do you think I can do to an entire army? Darius stared at her. You'd kill yourself. That much power, that many targets, maybe. But I'd take them down with me. No. His hands came up to cup her face, and there was something desperate in his eyes. No, I didn't just get you back to watch you die. We'll find another way. There is no other way, you know that. Elara. A massive horn sounded from the walls, deep, resonant, the signal for enemy approach. They ran. The throne room was packed when they arrived. Guards, advisors, nobles who'd stayed instead of fleeing. And at the center, standing before the throne like he belonged there, was a man Elara had spent 3 years trying to forget. Prince Kyle Draven. He was exactly as she remembered, tall, powerfully built, with dark hair and eyes like chips of amber, handsome in the way predators were handsome, beautiful until you noticed the teeth. He smiled when he saw her. Hello, Elara, he said. Miss me? Darius moved to put himself between them, but Elara stepped forward instead, head high, shoulders back. What do you want, Kyle? Straight to business. I always liked that about you. Kael's gaze raked over her and something flickered in his expression, surprise maybe, or concern. You look different. Something's changed. I survived your curse. Does that count as change? His smile faltered. What are you talking about? The rejection, the bond you left active, the chains you wrapped around my wolf. Elara's voice was ice. I broke them all. You don't own me anymore. For the first time since she'd known him, Kael looked uncertain. That's not possible. The binding was imperfect, Elara interrupted. You always were too arrogant for your own good. Kael's expression hardened. Careful, Omega. You might have broken the subtle bindings, but I still have 3,000 soldiers outside these walls. And King Darius, he looked past her, smiled wider. Looks like he's one bad day away from tearing his own throat out. How's the curse treating you, Your Majesty? Darius's scent shifted, darker, angrier. Elara grabbed his hand before he could respond. The touch grounded him, pulled him back from the edge. Kael noticed. His eyes narrowed. Interesting, he murmured. So the rumors are true. You've been playing nurse to Varkes's broken king. How noble. State your terms, Darius said. His voice was controlled, but barely. You didn't march an army here to trade insults. No, Kael agreed. I came for what belongs to me. Elara returns to Draven territory, willingly, and I leave your city standing. And if she refuses? Kael shrugged. Then I take her by force, after I burn Varkes to the ground and mount your head on a pike. The throne room erupted, nobles shouting, guards reaching for weapons, but Darius raised a hand and silence fell. You really think you can take this city? Darius asked quietly. I know I can. Your walls are strong, but your army is small. You're outnumbered 3-1. And when the curse takes you, which it will, we both know it will, your own soldiers will turn on you. Kael's smile was poisonous. It's over, Darius. Give me the Omega and everyone lives. Everyone except me, Elara said. You'll live. You'll just live as mine, like you were always meant to. I'd rather die. That can be arranged too. Elara felt the power rising in her chest, felt how easy it would be to reach out, touch Kael, and shut down every ounce of alpha strength he had. Watch him collapse. Watch him break. But Darius's hand tightened on hers. A warning. We need time to consider, Darius said. You have until sunrise, Kael replied. Then I attack. With or without Elara, this city falls. He turned and walked out, flanked by his personal guard. The moment the doors closed, the throne room exploded into argument. We can't give her up. We can't fight them. The curse will take him before we... Enough! Darius's voice cut through the chaos. Everyone out! Now! The room cleared, slowly, reluctantly. When they were alone, Darius turned to Elara. We're not giving you to him, he said. I know. And we can't fight 3,000 soldiers with 500 guards. I know that too. So what do we do? Elara took a breath. We cheat. Darius's eyebrow raised. Explain. Kael wants me because of my power. Because he thinks he can control it, use it to take the kingdom. But he doesn't know I broke his bonds. He doesn't know what I can really do now. And what can you really do? I don't know exactly, but in the trial I felt... She struggled for words. It's not just shutting down alpha power, it's reshaping it, redirecting it. If I can get close enough to Kael's army, you'll kill yourself, Darius interrupted. That's too many targets, too much power. Maybe, but there's another option. Which is? Elara met his eyes. You fight him, one-on-one, alpha to alpha, old law. If you win, he has to leave. And when the curse takes me, I'll be there. I'll stop it. Elara, it's the only way. You know it is. She stepped closer. Kael's arrogant. He'll accept the challenge because he thinks he'll win, either by beating you in combat or by waiting for the curse to do his work for him. And if he's right, then I'll step in, and I'll end it. Darius was quiet for a long moment. You mean you'll end him? If I have to. Have you ever killed anyone, Elara? No. It changes you, trust me. So does losing everyone you care about. Her voice softened. Let me help. Let me fight for something instead of just surviving. Darius looked at her, and something in his expression cracked open. When did you get so brave? About 3 hours ago, in a pool of murderous water. He laughed. It was rough and brief, but real. Then he cupped her face and kissed her. It wasn't gentle, it wasn't careful. It was desperate and fierce and tasted like goodbye. Elara kissed him back just as hard, pouring 3 years of loneliness and fear and new, fragile hope into it. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. If we survive this, Darius said, I'm going to do that properly. Promises, promises, Elara replied. A knock at the door interrupted them. Enter, Darius called. Marcus Webb stepped in, looking grim. My lord, there's something you need to see. They followed him to the walls. The sight that greeted them made Elara's stomach drop. Kael's army stretched across the field like a living carpet. 3,000 soldiers, maybe more, arranged in perfect formation. Siege engines, cavalry, mages with staffs that crackled with power. And at the front, on a raised platform, Kael stood watching the city, waiting, He poisoned the wells, Marcus said quietly. 3 of them. We just found out. Darius went very still. When? Sometime last night, before he even announced his presence. Slow-acting poison. Won't kill, but it'll weaken. Make people sick. Disoriented. That bastard, Elara breathed. He's not here to negotiate, Marcus continued. He never was. This was always going to be a siege. He just wanted to see if he could take you without a fight first. Darius's hands clenched on the stone battlements. Elara felt his control starting to slip, felt the curse rising. She grabbed his wrist. Stay with me, she said quietly. He took a shuddering breath, nodded. Send word, he said to Marcus. I'm invoking the old law, single combat, Kael and me. Tomorrow at dawn. My lord, do it. Marcus bowed and left. Elara and Darius stood on the walls as the sun set, watching Kael's army prepare for war. Are you sure about this? Elara asked. No, Darius admitted, but I'm sure about you, and that's going to have to be enough. Night fell. The city held its breath, and in the darkness, Elara felt something shift. Not in her, in the air itself, like reality was bending around a coming storm. She looked at Darius. Do you feel that? Feel what? Before she could answer, pain exploded through her chest. The bond, Kael's bond, the one she thought she'd broken, suddenly flared to life like someone had set it on fire. Elara gasped, fell to her knees. Elara! Darius caught her. What's wrong? He's pulling. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The bond was a hook in her chest, yanking her toward the army, toward Kael, toward... Understanding crashed through her. It wasn't broken, she gasped. The trial, it didn't break the bond. It just revealed it, made it visible. And now he knows. He knows I can see it, and he's using it to... The world tilted. Elara felt her body moving without her permission, felt herself standing, walking toward the edge of the wall, toward Kael. No, she said. No, no, no. But her body didn't listen. Darius grabbed her, tried to hold her back, but the bond was too strong. It pulled, demanded. And Elara's newly awakened power, barely controlled, surged in response. The explosion of energy threw Darius backward. He hit the wall hard enough to crack stone. Darius! Elara screamed, but her feet kept moving, carrying her down the stairs, through the gates that opened without her asking them to, out into the field, toward the army, toward Kael. Guards tried to stop her. She didn't hurt them, wouldn't, couldn't, but her power knocked them aside like leaves in a storm. And then she was standing in front of Kael's platform, looking up at the man who'd destroyed her life. He smiled down at her. I told you, he said softly, you always come back. The bond pulsed, tightened. Elara fell to her knees. Did you really think a little death trial would free you? Kael descended the platform, crouched in front of her. Oh, Elara, I've been building this bond since you were 16. It's woven into your soul. Your power made it stronger, not weaker. I'll kill you, Elara managed. No, you won't, because you can't. He touched her chin, forced her to look at him. You're mine. You've always been mine. And tomorrow, when I kill Darius Vane in front of his entire city, you're going to stand beside me and watch. Then we'll take Varkas, the North. Everything. Elara tried to summon her power, tried to shut him down the way she'd done to Darius. Nothing happened. The bond had her too tightly. Her power was turned inward, locked behind chains she couldn't see. Kael stood, gestured to his guards. Put her in the tent, bind her, and make sure she's ready for tomorrow's show. They dragged her away. And Elara, who'd survived a death trial and broken a curse and dared to hope she was finally free, realized she'd never been free at all. The tent was dark and smelled like leather and old blood. Elara sat on the ground, wrists bound behind her back with rope that had been soaked in something, wolfsbane probably, or some other poison meant to keep her wolf down. Not that it mattered. Her wolf was there, awake and furious, but the bond held her like chains made of her own spine. She'd tested it 3 times in the first hour, tried to summon her power, break free, do something. Each time, the bond had constricted until she couldn't breathe, until black spots danced across her vision and she had to stop or pass out. Kael had built this well, too well. Footsteps approached. Elara didn't look up. "Still pouting?" Kael's voice, amused, satisfied. "Go to hell. Eventually, but not today." He crouched in front of her, grabbed her chin, forced her head up. His eyes were the same amber she remembered, but there was something else in them now, something hungry. "Tomorrow Darius challenges me. Tomorrow I kill him in front of his people, and you're going to watch." "I'll close my eyes." "No, you won't, because I'll command you not to." His thumb brushed her cheek, almost gentle. "That's the beauty of this bond, Elara. You can hate me all you want. You can fight, rage, scream. But in the end, you'll do exactly what I say." Elara jerked her head away from his touch. "Why? Why go through all this? You could have just taken me 3 years ago, kept me locked up. Why the rejection? Why let me think I was free?" Kael smiled. "Because broken things are easier to control. And I needed you broken, convinced of your own weakness. So when your power finally surfaced, you'd be too damaged to use it properly." He stood, started pacing. "I've been planning this since I was 20 years old, since I found those old texts about nulls and realized what you were. 4 years of courting you, building your hopes, making you love me. I never loved you, liar." "You did, desperately. I made sure of it." He stopped pacing, looked at her. "And then I took it all away, shattered you, because a null who thinks she's worthless won't fight back when I use her to conquer a kingdom." Elara's stomach turned. "You're insane." "I'm ambitious. There's a difference." He moved to the tent's entrance, paused. "Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. And Elara, try to run again and I'll make you watch while I kill that serving girl, the one who gave you bread in the kitchens. What was her name? Mira?" He left. Elara sat in the darkness, trembling with rage and helplessness and something that felt dangerously close to despair. She'd been so stupid, thinking the trial would free her, thinking she could just break the bond and walk away. Kael had been 10 steps ahead the whole time. Her wolf growled low in her chest. Still there, still fighting. "We're not done," it seemed to say. "No," Elara whispered. "We're not." She closed her eyes, breathed, tried to think past the panic. The bond was strong. But the trial had changed something. She'd felt it, that vast, deep power waking up inside her. It was still there. She could feel it humming beneath the bond's grip, vast and patient and waiting. Waiting for what? Elara thought back to the trial, to the water pressing down, demanding she accept the truth. And she'd refused to believe she was weak, refused to accept Kael's version of her story. And the power had answered. What if the bond worked the same way? What if it only held because she accepted it? "I don't accept this," Elara said quietly, to the bond, to the universe, to herself. "I don't accept that you own me. I don't accept that I'm yours. I don't accept any of it." The bond pulsed, tightened, pain lanced through her chest, her ribs creaked, her vision went white. But underneath the pain, something else moved, that deep power rising like a tide. "I am not his." The bond squeezed harder. "I am not broken." Her bones felt like they were cracking. "I am not weak." The power exploded. The bond didn't break. Breaking implied something violent, something forced. Instead, it dissolved, like ice under sunlight, like chains made of lies falling away the moment truth touched them. Elara gasped. The pressure vanished. She could breathe again, could think, could move. She twisted her wrists against the rope. It held for a second, then her wolf surged and the fibers snapped like thread. Elara stood. Her whole body shook, but she was free. Actually, free. Now she just had to get out of a camp with 3,000 soldiers. She moved to the tent's edge, listened, guards outside. 2 of them, talking quietly. "Think the king will actually show up?" "He has to. Old law. He invoked it. Suicide. Kael'll tear him apart." "Maybe, but I heard the king's got that Omega, the one who calms his curse. Maybe She's in the prince's tent, idiot. Locked up tight. She's not helping anyone." Elara smiled grimly. Surprise would be her only advantage. She reached for her power carefully this time, like touching something that might burn, and felt it respond. Not explosive, not violent, just there, ready. She pushed it outward, gentle, searching. The two guards' voices faltered, slurred. I feel weird. Me too. Like I can't. Thuds as they hit the ground. Elara slipped out of the tent. The guards were unconscious, breathing but deeply asleep. She'd suppressed just enough of their alpha energy to knock them out without killing them. It had been instinct more than skill, but it had worked. The camp stretched around her in all directions. Tents, fires, soldiers everywhere. She needed a plan, needed to... Going somewhere? Elara spun. Marcus Webb stood 10 feet away, hands raised, expression carefully neutral. Marcus, what are you... Followed you, he said quietly. When you walked out of Varkas like a puppet, figured you might need help. You followed an entire army? I'm very sneaky. He lowered his hand, stepped closer. Are you okay? Did he hurt you? I'm fine, but I need to get back to the city. Warn Darius. Kael's going to cheat tomorrow. Poison him, or... He already did, Marcus interrupted. The Wells, remember? Half the castle guard is sick, weak, and Darius... He grimaced. The curse is getting worse. Without you there to calm it, he's barely holding on. Guilt crashed through Elara. I have to get back. You won't make it. Not through 3,000 soldiers. I just took down 2 guards. I can... Elara. Marcus grabbed her shoulders. You take down 12, 24. Then what? You burn out, die. And Kyle wins anyway. So what do you suggest? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. It was sharp. Dangerous. We cheat harder than he does. 10 minutes later, Elara was wearing a dead soldier's armor. Not dead, just deeply unconscious, Marcus assured her, and following Marcus through the camp like she belonged there. It shouldn't have worked. She was shorter than most of the soldiers, smaller, obviously wrong if anyone looked closely. But nobody looked closely. An army preparing for battle had too much to do, and Elara kept her head down, her power pulled in tight, invisible. They made it to the edge of camp, to the supply wagons. Here, Marcus whispered. He pulled aside a tarp, revealed barrels labeled as wine. Kael's planning to send these into the city tomorrow, peace offering before the fight. Except they're poisoned. Same stuff he used on the Wells, but concentrated. Elara stared. He's going to poison the entire city. Yep. Make everyone too weak to fight back when he wins. Then he just walks in and takes over. Marcus started opening barrels. But if we replace the poison with something else, we don't have time to replace 12 barrels. We don't have to replace them. We just have to contaminate them. Marcus pulled out a small vial. Ipecac root. Causes vomiting. Lots of it. Non-lethal but deeply unpleasant. A few drops in each barrel and Kael's entire army will be too busy puking their guts up to fight. Elara almost laughed. That's your plan? Give 3,000 soldiers food poisoning? You have a better idea? She didn't. They worked quickly. A few drops in each barrel. Careful. Quiet. By the time they finished, Elara's hands were shaking and her power was stretched thin from keeping nearby soldiers distracted and sleepy. Done, Marcus said. Now we just need to... Need to what? A cold voice asked. They turned. Cassandra stood behind them, still in her expensive armor, sword drawn, eyes hard. Lady Cassandra, Marcus said carefully, fancy meeting you here. I could say the same, although I'm less surprised to find a spy in Kael's camp than I am to find Darius's pet Omega running around free. Cassandra's gaze fixed on Elara. Did you kill the guards? No, just put them to sleep. How merciful. Cassandra's grip on her sword tightened. You should have run farther, Omega, should have disappeared, because now I get to drag you back to Kael, and maybe, just maybe, he'll forgive Darius for the insult of defending you. You're working with Kael? Elara asked. I'm working for my own interests, which currently align with the prince's. Cassandra smiled. It was bitter. You ruined everything, you know that? Darius and I were supposed to unite our territories, build something strong, and then you showed up and destroyed it all with your broken Omega routine. I never asked for any of this. Doesn't matter. You took him anyway. So now I take you. She raised her sword. Are you going to come quietly, or do I get to make this painful? Elara felt her power rising. She could shut Cassandra down. Easy, just a touch. And Marcus moved first. He was fast, faster than Elara expected. He lunged at Cassandra, knocked her sword aside, and for a second it looked like it might work. Then Cassandra's alpha strength kicked in. She grabbed Marcus by the throat and slammed him against a wagon hard enough to crack wood. "Stay down," she snarled. Marcus gurgled, went limp. Cassandra turned back to Elara. "Now, where were we?" Alara's wolf surged, her power blazed, and for the first time since the trial, she let it loose without holding back. The effect was immediate. Cassandra's eyes went wide. Her sword clattered from her grip. She fell to her knees, gasping, all that alpha strength just gone. "What?" Cassandra wheezed. "What did you do?" "Took away your power," Elara said quietly. "All of it. Your baseline now. Human. No, give it back. You can't." "I can." Elara crouched in front of her. "And I will. But first, you're going to listen." Cassandra's face twisted with rage and fear. "I'll kill you." "With what? You're weaker than a child right now." Elara gentled her voice, tried to find something besides anger. "Cassandra, I know you hate me. I know you think I stole Darius, but he was never yours to lose, and Kael's using you, just like he used me." "Liar. Am I?" "Think about it. Why would he really want you on his side? You're powerful, sure, but not powerful enough to matter in a war. Unless—" Understanding clicked. "Unless he promised you something. What was it, territory? A title? Darius himself after Kael kills him?" Cassandra's expression flickered, just for a second. "He's lying," Elara continued. "Whatever he promised, he won't deliver. Kael doesn't share power. He takes it, and once he's done using you, he'll discard you the same way he discarded me." "You don't know that." "I know him. I spent 4 years learning how he thinks, how he manipulates, how he makes you believe you're special right up until the moment he destroys you." Elara stood. "You want Darius? Fine. Fight for him honestly, but don't let Kael turn you into another one of his weapons." She reached down, touched Cassandra's shoulder. The alpha strength flooded back. Cassandra gasped, shuddered, and for a long moment just sat there. Then she looked up at Elara. "Why did you give it back?" "Because you deserve a choice, and same as anyone." Cassandra was quiet. Then, "The barrels. You poisoned them." "Not poisoned, just adjusted." "Kael will kill you when he finds out. He'll have to catch me first." Elara glanced at Marcus, who was groaning and starting to sit up. "Are you going to tell him?" Cassandra looked at the barrels, at Elara, at the camp spreading around them. "I don't know," she said finally. "Ask me again tomorrow." She stood, walked away, disappeared into the darkness. Marcus staggered over. "Did that just happen?" "I think so." "Did you really just trust Cassandra not to betray us?" "No, but I gave her a reason not to." Elara helped him up. "Come on, we need to get back before someone notices these barrels have been tampered with." They ran. Through the camp, past drowsy guards, using every shadow and distraction they could find. Elara's power was stretched dangerously thin by the time they reached the edge of Kael's territory. The city walls loomed ahead. "How do we get back in?" Elara asked. "Same way I got out. Secret passage. This way." Marcus led her along the wall to what looked like solid stone. He pressed something, a hidden lever maybe, and a section swung inward. "After you," he said. They climbed through. The passage was narrow, damp, claustrophobic, but it led up, and finally out into a storage room inside the castle. Elara had never been so happy to see moldy grain sacks in her life. "Where's Darius?" she asked. "Probably the throne room, or his chambers, or—" "The training yard," a familiar voice said. They spun. Roth stood in the doorway. He looked exhausted, worried, but when he saw Elara, relief flooded his face. "Thank the old gods," he breathed. We thought you were—" "I'm fine. Where's Darius?" "Training yard. But Miss Thorne, you should know, the curse is very bad, worse than I've ever seen. Without you to calm it, he's been fighting it constantly. He's not sleeping, barely eating. I'm not sure he can fight tomorrow. I'm not sure he'll survive until tomorrow. Elara was already moving. She ran through corridors that felt like home now, past servants who gasped and pointed, past guards who reached for her, then backed off when they saw her face. She burst into the training yard. Darius was in the center, surrounded by broken practice dummies and shattered weapons. His chest heaved, his hands dripped blood from where he'd been hitting the stone walls, and his eyes, black, completely black. But when he saw her, something flickered, a hint of gray. Elara? His voice was rough, barely human. You're here? I'm here. She walked toward him slowly, non-threatening. I'm sorry I left. I didn't mean to. Kale used the bond and Bond's gone. Darius took a shuddering breath. I can feel it. You broke it. I did. I'm free now. Good. The darkness in his eyes fought, pulsed. You should go, while I still know who you are, before I hurt you. You won't hurt me. I might. The curse it's so strong, Elara, I can barely think, barely breathe. Everything's red, and I want to destroy something, and I can't. She closed the distance between them and put her hand on his chest. The effect was instant. The darkness receded like a wave pulling back from shore. Darius's eyes cleared to gray, and he collapsed forward, catching himself on her shoulders. I thought I lost you, he whispered into her hair. You didn't. I'm right here. Kael, I know, tomorrow, single combat. But Darius, he's going to cheat. He poisoned the wells. He's planning to poison the whole city. And he's been building this for years. We can't beat him playing fair. So we cheat too. Darius pulled back, looked at her, really looked. You're different. What happened? I broke the bond. Not in the trial. After. Kyle took me to his camp and I just refused to accept it. And it dissolved. That's not how bonds work. Maybe it is for nulls. I don't know. I'm figuring this out as I go. She touched his face. But I know one thing. Kyle's plan only works if I'm his. And I'm not. I'm mine. And maybe, if you'll have me, I'm yours. Darius went very still. Elara. Not because of the curse. Not because you need me to calm it. But because I choose you. I choose this. I choose to fight beside you instead of hiding behind you. You don't have to. I know. That's why I'm doing it. She smiled. It felt shaky but real. So tomorrow, when Kyle tries to kill you, I'll be there. And if he tries to use me against you, it won't work. Because I broke his hold. I'm free. Darius kissed her, hard, desperate, like she was air and he'd been drowning. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. We're going to win, Elara said. I don't know how yet, but we're going to win. Even if the city guard is half dead from poison, even if Kyle has 3,000 soldiers, even then. Elara grinned. Because Marcus and I might have contaminated his supply wagons with ipecac root. By tomorrow morning, half his army is going to be too busy vomiting to fight. Darius stared at her. Then he started laughing. Deep, genuine, almost hysterical laughter. You poisoned his army, he managed between laughs. You actually poisoned 3,000 soldiers. Not poison, just mildly incapacitated. That's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. He kissed her again. Softer this time, sweeter. And for the first time since this whole nightmare started, Elara let herself believe they might actually survive. Dawn came too fast. Elara stood on the walls beside Darius, watching as Kael's army assembled on the field. Or tried to. Half the soldiers looked green. Dozens were stumbling away from formation to throw up in the grass. It worked, Darius murmured. It worked, Elara agreed. Below, Kyle stood on his platform. He looked furious, confused. But when he saw Elara on the walls beside Darius, his expression went cold. Darius Vane, his voice boomed across the field. You invoked the old law, single combat. Do you still accept? I do, Darius called back. Then come down, or are you hiding behind your Omega? Darius looked at Elara. Stay here, please, no matter what happens. Darius, please. She nodded. Hated it, but nodded. Darius climbed down from the walls, walked through the gates. across the field to where Kyle waited. The two alphas faced each other. "You look terrible," Kyle said conversationally. "Curse getting worse?" "I'm fine." "Liar. I can see it in your eyes. You're barely holding on." Kyle smiled. "This is going to be easier than I thought." "We'll see." They circled each other. Two predators, two kings. Then Kyle lunged. The fight was brutal, fast. Darius met him blow for blow, but Kyle was fresh, and Darius had been fighting the curse for days. Within minutes, Darius was bleeding from a dozen cuts, and his eyes were starting to darken. "There it is," Kale said. "There's the curse. Come on, Darius, let it take you. Make this easy." Darius roared, lunged, caught Kyle with a punch that would have killed a normal man. Kale just laughed and hit back harder. Elara watched from the walls, hands clenched on stone, every instinct screaming at her to intervene. But she'd promised. Darius went down. Kyle kicked him in the ribs, once, twice. The darkness in Darius's eyes spread, consumed. He stopped fighting like a man and started fighting like a monster. Kyle barely dodged the first strike, didn't dodge the second. Darius's fist caught him in the jaw and sent him flying. "Finally," Kyle spat blood. "The real fight." He pulled something from his belt. A vial. Drank it. His eyes went black too. "You're not the only one who can use a curse," Kyle said. His voice had changed, deeper, wrong. "I've been saving this. Borrowed darkness. Costs a year of my life, but it's worth it to watch you fall." The two cursed alphas clashed. It was carnage. Darius was stronger, but Kyle was precise. Every hit calculated to maim, to destroy. And slowly, inevitably, Darius started to lose. He fell to one knee. Blood poured from a wound in his side. Kale raised his sword. "Goodbye, King," he said. Elara didn't think. She just moved. She jumped from the wall, 20 feet, should have killed her, but her power caught her and she landed in a crouch between Darius and Kyle. "No," she said. Kale's sword stopped an inch from her face. "Elara," he said, "move." "No. I'll kill you too." "Try." She reached up, grabbed the blade. Her power exploded outward, not gentle this time, not controlled. She poured everything into it, all her rage, all her fear, all her newfound strength, and aimed it straight at Kyle. The borrowed curse shattered. The darkness in his eyes fled, and Kyle, stripped of his stolen power, collapsed. Elara stood over him, breathing hard, alive. Behind her, Darius's eyes cleared. He staggered to his feet. The field was silent. 3,000 soldiers stared at the Omega who'd just brought their prince to his knees with a touch. Elara looked at them. "It's over," she said. Her voice carried, clear, strong. "Kyle Draven used you, lied to you, poisoned his own supplies to keep you weak and controllable. I'm offering you a choice. Lay down your weapons and go home. Or keep fighting and I'll do to all of you what I just did to him." Nobody moved. Then, slowly, one soldier dropped his sword. Then another. Then 100. Then all of them. The army knelt. Elara turned to Kyle. He was conscious, barely, staring at her with hatred and something that might have been fear. "You're nothing," he spat. "Worthless, broken. You'll always be—" She put her hand on his forehead, and she showed him everything, every moment of pain he'd caused her, every lie, every manipulation. She forced him to feel it all, to live in it, to understand exactly what he'd done. When she pulled away, Kyle was crying, actually crying. "Please," he whispered. "Please, no more." "That's what I said," Elara replied quietly. 3 years ago, when you broke me. Remember?" She stood, walked back to Darius. He caught her, held her. "Is it over?" he asked. "It's over," she said. And this time she believed it. The silence on the battlefield stretched like pulled wire, ready to snap. Elara stood beside Darius, breathing hard, her hands still warm from where she'd touched Kyle. Around them, 3,000 soldiers knelt in the grass, their weapons scattered like fallen leaves. Above, the sun climbed higher, indifferent to the lives it illuminated. Kale lay curled on his side, shaking. The tears hadn't stopped. Elara had showed him everything, not just her pain, but the pain of everyone he'd ever used, every Omega he'd manipulated, every soldier he'd sent to die for his ambition, every life he'd treated as a stepping stone. She'd forced him to feel it all. "Elara," Darius said quietly. His hand found hers. "What did you do to him?" "The truth," she said. "Just the truth." Roth emerged from the gates with a contingent of guards. He stopped when he saw the kneeling army, his eyes going wide. "My lord," he said carefully, "should we take them prisoner?" "No," Darius replied. He raised his voice, addressing the soldiers. "You came here under false pretenses, lied to, poisoned, used. I'm not interested in punishing people who were victims themselves. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to return to your territories. You're going to tell everyone what happened here. And you're going to remember that Varkas doesn't make war on the innocent." One of the soldiers, a grizzled beta with gray in his beard, stood slowly. "And Prince Kael?" Elara and Darius exchanged a look. "He comes with us," Elara said. "He'll stand trial for what he's done, properly, with witnesses and evidence, not revenge." The soldier nodded, bowed. "Thank you, miss." The army began to disperse, slowly at first, then faster, like they couldn't quite believe they were being allowed to leave. Within an hour, the field was empty except for abandoned weapons and trampled grass. Kael still hadn't moved. Elara crouched beside him. "Get up." He flinched. I can't see it anymore. Make it stop." "No, you're going to carry it, every day, for the rest of your life. That's your punishment." She grabbed his arm, hauled him to his feet. He was taller than her, stronger, but he moved like a broken puppet. "Now, walk." They brought him into the castle, put him in a cell deep underground, warded with magic and guarded by soldiers who'd volunteered specifically because they hated what he represented. When the cell door closed, Elara felt something release in her chest. Not quite peace, but close. "Is it really over?" she asked Darius as they climbed back up to the main level. "The battle is. The rest..." He smiled, tired and real. "We'll figure it out." The castle was chaos. Servants cleaning up from the siege preparations, healers tending to guards who'd been sickened by the poisoned wells, nobles demanding explanations, reassurances, answers Darius didn't have yet. But there was something else, too. Something new. People stopped when they saw Elara, not to stare with suspicion or contempt, but with something that looked almost like respect. "That's the Omega who stopped the prince," someone whispered. "She broke an army with one touch." "Did you see her jump from the wall? She should have died." Elara tried to ignore it, tried to focus on helping where she could, bringing water to wounded soldiers, checking on the servants she'd worked beside in the kitchens. But the whispers followed her. By nightfall, she was exhausted. She found Darius in his chambers, stripped to the waist, letting a healer stitch the worst of his wounds from the fight with Kael. "That one's deep, my lord," the healer muttered. "You should have let me see it hours ago." "I was busy," Darius replied. He saw Elara in the doorway and smiled. "Hey. Hey." She came in and closed the door. "How bad is it?" "I've had worse." He winced as the healer pulled a stitch tight. "How are you?" "Tired, confused, not sure what happens now." The healer finished, packed up her supplies, and left with a respectful bow. Elara sat on the edge of the bed. Darius joined her, careful of his stitches. "What you did today," he said, "on the battlefield, that was incredible. I didn't know if it would work. I just couldn't watch him kill you. You jumped from a 20-foot wall." "I know, stupid. Brave." He touched her face. "You saved my life. Again. You would have done the same. Maybe. But I'm glad I didn't have to." His thumb brushed her cheek. "Elara, I need to ask you something." Her heart stuttered. "Okay. What do you want? Really want? Not what I need, not what the kingdom needs. You. What do you want your life to look like?" Elara was quiet for a long moment. 3 years ago, she would have said safety. A year ago, invisibility. Even a week ago, freedom. But now? "I want to matter," she said quietly. "I want to use this power for something more than just survival. I want to help people who are like I was, broken, discarded, told they're worthless. I want to prove that's a lie." Darius smiled. "Then let's do that." Just like that? Just like that. You saved my kingdom, Elara, twice. If you want to rebuild it into something better, I'll help you. Any way I can. Elara's throat went tight. I don't know how. Neither do I. We'll figure it out together. He took her hand. But first, there's something I need to tell you about the curse. Her stomach dropped. It's not gone, is it? No, but it's different, quieter. Ever since you came back from Kael's camp, since you broke his bond, the curse has been easier to control. Like it's not fighting me as hard. Why? I think because you're not fighting yourself anymore. When you touch me, you're fully present, fully you, and that makes all the difference. He paused. Roth thinks that if we formed an actual bond, a real one, chosen freely, the curse might disappear entirely. Elara's heart hammered. A mate bond. Yes, that's a big step. It is. Which is why I'm not asking. Not yet. Not until you're sure. Not until we've had time to just be without armies at the gates or curses tearing us apart. He squeezed her hand. I'm just telling you it's an option. When you're ready. If you're ever ready. Elara looked at him, really looked, at the scars crossing his chest, the exhaustion in his eyes, the gentle way he held her hand like she was something precious instead of something broken. Ask me again in 6 months, she said. Darius grinned. Deal. The next morning, Elara woke to sunlight streaming through the windows and the smell of fresh bread. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then memory returned, the battle, the victory, Darius's offer, and she sat up, heart racing. A knock at the door. Come in, she called. Mira entered, the young servant girl from the kitchens. She carried a tray with breakfast and a nervous smile. Morning, miss, she said. The king asked me to bring this up, said you'd probably sleep late after everything. Thank you, Mira. Elara took the tray, then hesitated. Can I ask you something? Of course, miss. Do people do they hate me? For what I am? For what I can do? Mira's eyes went wide. Hate you? Miss, you're a hero. You stopped a war, saved the king, freed an entire army from a tyrant. She smiled. If anything, people are scared you'll disappear. Go back to being invisible like you were before. I'm not going anywhere, Elara said quietly. Good. Because we need you. Mira bobbed a curtsy and left. Elara ate breakfast slowly, thinking. A hero. The word felt wrong, too big, too clean. But maybe that was the point. Maybe heroes weren't supposed to be perfect. Maybe they were just people who chose to fight when it would have been easier to hide. She dressed and went to find Darius. He was in the council chamber with Roth and Marcus, bent over maps and documents. Prisoners from Kael's army are requesting asylum, Marcus was saying. They don't want to go back north, too afraid of retaliation. Grant it, Darius replied. Anyone who wants to stay can stay. We'll find work for them. My lord, that's nearly 400 people. I don't care. We don't turn away people who need help. Darius looked up, saw Elara, and his expression softened. Morning. Morning. Am I interrupting? Never. Come in. She joined them at the table. Marcus grinned at her. Heard you jumped off a wall yesterday, he said. Didn't know gnolls could fly. We can't. I just fell with style. Roth cleared his throat. Miss Thorne, if I may, I've been researching your abilities. There's a significant amount of historical precedent for gnolls serving as peacekeepers. Mediators. They were sent to territories experiencing alpha conflicts to restore balance. You want me to be a traveling peacekeeper? Elara asked. Eventually, if you're willing, but first I think we need to address the situation here in Varkas. Roth pulled out a ledger. Our laws regarding omegas are outdated, discriminatory. You were living in the kitchens for 3 years because no one thought to check if you deserved better. That's unacceptable. What are you proposing? Darius asked. A restructuring. New laws protecting omegas. Programs to identify and train those with unique abilities instead of discarding them. A council specifically dedicated to ensuring everyone, regardless of designation, has access to resources and opportunities. Elara stared. That's a massive undertaking. It is, which is why I'm hoping you'll help lead it. Me? Who better? Roth smiled. You've lived both sides, invisible and powerful, discarded and essential. You know what needs to change because you've experienced it firsthand. Elara looked at Darius. He nodded. It's your choice, he said, but I think you'd be incredible at it. She thought about Mira, about all the servants she'd worked beside who never complained because complaining meant losing their positions, about the Omega she'd been 3 years ago, convinced she was worthless because everyone told her so. Okay, she said, I'll do it. The work started immediately. Elara spent the next weeks meeting with Omegas from across the city, hearing their stories, their struggles, the ways the system had failed them. It was hard, exhausting. Some days she wanted to quit, to go back to being invisible. But then she'd remember Kael's face when she'd showed him the truth. Remember the army kneeling in the grass. Remember that she had power now, real power, and she could use it to make sure no one else had to suffer the way she had. 3 months after the battle, the first new laws passed. No Omega could be rejected without cause and proper compensation. All pack members had the right to appeal unfair treatment. And most importantly, ability testing for young Omegas, to identify nulls and other rare designations early so they could be trained instead of hidden. It wasn't perfect. There was pushback, resistance, old alphas who didn't like their power being questioned. But slowly, things changed. Elara changed too. She trained with her power, learned its limits, discovered she could do more than just suppress. She could enhance, balance, redistribute. She could take an alpha's rage and turn it into calm, take a beta's fear and transform it into courage. She became what the old texts had described, a balance, someone who could reshape power itself. And Darius healed. With Elara beside him, the curse grew quieter each day. The episodes became less frequent, less violent. By the 4th month, he could go days without her touch and remain stable. It's working, Roth said during one of their checkups. The bond between you, even without formal recognition, is stabilizing his condition. Will it ever disappear completely? Elara asked. Unknown, but at this rate, perhaps, in time. That night, Darius found Elara in the gardens where they'd first really talked months ago. Hey, he said. Hey. She patted the bench beside her. He sat. They watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and gold. I've been thinking, Darius said after a while. Dangerous. He smiled. About us, about the bond, about what comes next. Elara's heart picked up. It's only been 4 months. I said 6. I know. I'm not asking yet. I'm just thinking out loud. He took her hand. I love you, Elara. I think I have since the moment you stepped into that courtyard and touched a cursed king like it was the most natural thing in the world. Elara's breath caught. Darius. You don't have to say it back. I'm not asking you to. I'm just telling you. So you know. So there's no doubt. He turned to face her. You saved me. Not just from the curse, from myself, from becoming the kind of king who's too broken to care about his people. You showed me what real strength looks like, and I love you for it. Elara felt tears building. Happy ones, terrifying ones. I love you too, she whispered. I think I have for a while. I was just scared to say it. Why? Because every time I've loved someone, they've destroyed me. Kael, my pack, even my mother, dying and leaving me alone. She wiped her eyes. Loving people is dangerous. It is, Darius agreed, but it's also the only thing that makes any of this worthwhile. He kissed her, soft, sweet, perfect. When they broke apart, Elara smiled. Ask me again in 2 months. About the bond? About everything. 2 months became 3. 3 became 5. Elara threw herself into her work. The Council for Omega Rights grew, expanded, started reaching into other territories, other kingdoms. She traveled with Marcus as her guard, visiting packs and settlements, helping mediate disputes, teaching young nulls how to control their abilities. She became famous, not as Darius's Omega, not as the girl who'd stopped Kael Draven, as herself. Elara Thorne, the balance, the one who'd changed everything. Letters came from across the continent, requests for help, invitations to speak, offers of alliances. One letter came from the Draven pack, Elara opened it with shaking hands. Miss Thorne, we write to formally apologize for the treatment you received during your time with our pack. Prince Kael's actions were inexcusable, and we failed in our duty to protect you. We are working to implement reforms similar to those you've established in Varkes. If you're willing, we would be honored to have you visit and advise us. With deepest respect, Council of Elders, Dravenpack Elara showed it to Darius that night. Are you going to go? He asked. I don't know. Part of me wants to. To see the place where it all started and prove I'm not that scared girl anymore. You're not. You never were. He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. But you don't owe them anything. You don't have to go back to prove you've healed. I know. But maybe going back isn't about proving something. Maybe it's about closing the circle. 3 weeks later, Elara stood in the Draven Pack's Great Hall. It looked smaller than she remembered, less grand. The alphas who'd once terrified her seemed ordinary now, human. The head elder, an old woman named Maris, who'd been one of Kael's supporters, bowed when Elara entered. Miss Thorne, thank you for coming. Where is he? Elara asked. Kael. In prison. He'll stand trial next month. Maris gestured to a seat. Please, sit. We have much to discuss. They talked for hours about reforms, about identifying and protecting vulnerable pack members, about building systems that valued people for who they were, not what designation they carried. Before she left, Elara asked to see Kael. The prison was underground, cold, damp. Kael sat in a cell barely large enough to stand in, his once pristine appearance now haggard and worn. He looked up when she approached, flinched. What do you want? His voice was hoarse. To see if you've learned anything. I've learned that you're more dangerous than I ever imagined. That I underestimated you, that... No, Elara interrupted. That's not learning. That's just fear talking. Have you actually thought about what you did? Why it was wrong? Kael was quiet for a long time. Then, every night, I see their faces. Everyone I hurt. Everyone I used. It doesn't stop. Good. Don't let it. Elara crouched so they were eye level. You took 4 years of my life, convinced me I was worthless, broken, and I survived anyway. I became something you never could have controlled. That's what happens when you underestimate people, Kael. They surprise you. Are you here to gloat? No. I'm here to tell you that I forgive you. Kael's eyes widened. What? I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because carrying hatred is exhausting, and I'm done being exhausted. She stood. You're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. That's your consequence. But I'm not going to spend mine hating you. You don't get that power anymore. She walked away and didn't look back. When she returned to Varkes, Darius was waiting at the gates. How did it go? He asked. Better than expected. I think they'll actually change things. And Kael? Still miserable. Still paying for what he did. But I let go of needing revenge. She smiled. Turns out freedom feels better than hatred. Darius pulled her into his arms. I'm proud of you. For what? For being you. For choosing healing over revenge. For being braver than anyone I've ever met. Elara kissed him. Long, deep, perfect. When they broke apart, she said, Ask me. Ask you what? The question you've been holding on to for 6 months. Darius's breath caught. Are you sure? I'm sure. Ask me. He got down on one knee right there in the courtyard in front of guards and servants and nobles who'd gathered to welcome her home. Elara Thorne, he said, will you bond with me? Not because I need you to calm a curse, not because the kingdom needs a queen, but because I love you. And I want to spend the rest of my life choosing you every single day. Elara's vision blurred with tears. Yes. The courtyard erupted in cheers. Darius stood, kissed her, and the curse, the darkness that had lived in him for 5 years, finally, completely, disappeared. The bonding ceremony happened 3 weeks later. It wasn't traditional. Elara wore silver instead of white. Darius stood beside her rather than above her. And instead of priests speaking words of submission and duty, they wrote their own vows. I choose you, Elara said, not because fate demanded it, not because power required it, but because you saw me when I was invisible, You defended me when I was vulnerable. You gave me space to become who I'm supposed to be, and I love you for it. Today, tomorrow, always. Darius's voice was rough with emotion when he replied, I choose you, because you walked into darkness to save me, because you refused to accept what the world told you about yourself, because you're strong and brave and so full of light it blinds me sometimes. I love you, Elara, with everything I am, everything I'll ever be. When they kissed, the bond snapped into place. Not forced, not desperate, just right. Like two puzzle pieces finally finding where they belonged. The celebration lasted 3 days. People came from across the kingdom to witness the Omega who'd changed everything, bonding with the king who'd given her the power to do it. But the real work began after. Elara and Darius ruled together. Not king and consort, partners, equals. They rewrote laws, dismantled systems that protected the powerful at the expense of the vulnerable, created programs for outcasts, refugees, those who'd been told they were worthless. Varkas became known as the kingdom where anyone could find a home, where designation didn't determine destiny, where broken things weren't discarded but treasured for what they could become. Not everyone agreed with the changes. There were protests, attempts at rebellion, one assassination attempt that Marcus stopped with his usual efficiency. But slowly, inevitably, the culture shifted. Other kingdoms started implementing similar reforms. Other rulers started looking at their outcasts and seeing potential instead of problems. And it all started with an Omega who'd refused to accept that she was nothing. 5 years after the battle, Elara stood in the same courtyard where she'd first touched Darius. It looked different now. No chains, no broken stones, just a peaceful space where children played and couples walked hand in hand. Penny for your thoughts? Darius came up beside her, wrapped an arm around her waist. Just remembering, she said. 5 years ago, I was invisible, living in the kitchens, convinced I'd never matter. And now you're the most important person in the kingdom. We're the most important people in the kingdom. There's a difference. She leaned into him. How's the council meeting going? About how you'd expect. Lord Varen is still complaining about Omega rights. Lady Thess wants more funding for education. Marcus suggested we install a catapult on the north wall. For defense? For fun, apparently. Elara laughed. Never a dull moment. Never. Darius kissed the top of her head. I wouldn't change it, though. Any of it. Not even the part where I jumped off a wall and nearly died. Especially not that part. It was very impressive. They stood together as the sun set, painting the courtyard in shades of gold. In the streets beyond, the city hummed with life. Children who would grow up never knowing the old ways. Omegas who would never be told they were worthless. A kingdom built on choice and balance and the radical idea that everyone deserved dignity. It wasn't perfect. There were still problems, still struggles, still days when Elara wondered if they were doing enough. But it was better. Measurably, undeniably better. And that had to count for something. Do you ever regret it? Darius asked quietly. Walking into that courtyard, touching a cursed king, starting all this. Elara thought about it, really thought. About the fear, the pain, the impossible choices. About the strength she'd found, the lives she'd changed, the person she'd become. No, she said finally. Not for a second. Darius smiled. Good, because I have something to tell you. What? Roth found another Null, a young girl in the Eastern Territories. She's scared, alone, thinks she's broken. Elara's heart clenched. We need to help her. I know. I told Roth we'd go personally, tomorrow if you're willing. Of course I'm willing. Elara turned to face him. That's what we do, right? Find the broken things and show them they're not broken at all. Just different, special, powerful in ways the world hasn't learned to measure yet. Exactly. They kissed. Soft, sweet, full of promise. And the next morning, they rode out to find the lost girl. Because the work never ended. There would always be more people to save, more systems to fix, more battles to fight. But Elara Thorne, once invisible, once discarded, once convinced she was nothing, was ready. She was strong now. Not because she'd never been broken, but because she'd chosen to rebuild herself into something the world had never seen before. A balance. A queen. a woman who'd changed everything. And as the sun rose over Varkes, painting the kingdom in shades of gold and hope, Elara rode forward with Darius at her side, no longer powerless, no longer invisible, but the one who'd proved that broken things, given the chance, could become something magnificent, something unstoppable, something free.